All right, so for the meat of the episode and what we have teased literally on every game that we've talked about so far, it's house rules in board games. House rules are obvious. It's basically rules that aren't in the rule book that you add into a game just to fix or to do something that you would like better. For instance, a very common one is in Carcassonne, you'll draw your tile at the end of your turn. That way you have all the other players' turns to think about where you're going to put it, instead of the rules in the book where it says, on your turn, draw a tile, and then play the tile.
I think they actually even added it as a variant in the rulebook now.
Oh, did they?
Right.
In the newer printings and stuff? Yeah.
Or whatever. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, anyway, we're going to turn to George on this one because he is our house rules guru here.
I love house rules. I house rule just about everything.
And why not?
Are there any, let's start off with this. Are there any games so far that you have not added house rules to on purpose? Like, it's so good that you're like, I won't house rule this.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
There's no reason to do so.
There are a lot of games that I think are so well done. Inish would be an example.
That's fair.
No, although I think we house rolled.
I think we did house roll, didn't we? When
we played it like 3 players, and we didn't remove the cards.
Oh, well,
that's true.
That's just for player count, though. Okay, no, you got me.
Yeah,
but
that's just a small one.
I'll come up with a different example. No, that's one of the reasons I house rule is because if there's something that's really fun in a game, like all those cards, I want to have it all in the game.
Right.
And if in Inish, when you have 3 players, you don't play with all the cards. But my house rule is, yes, you do, because they're all fantastic. Why would you take any of them out?
Mm-hmm. I mean, in that case, it makes sense because there's really no reason. I feel like the rule is super arbitrary.
There's probably a reason.
What's the reason?
I don't remember the cards offhand right now, but I'm sure there's a reason in the designer's head to take out those cards. Maybe they work out. Maybe it's too powerful with a lesser player count or whatever.
But you don't take out specific cards, do you?
Yes, you do.
Oh, in that case, yeah, that might be some weird. We've played it 100,000 times.
We saw a problem with this.
We saw a problem. You're probably not going to run into this for a very long time, but yeah. Right. So maybe it's one of those things.
And it could be.
So maybe after a long time of doing the house rule, like, whoa, okay, yeah, I can see why he would remove this one card. But it's probably not that evident.
Probably not, because I've played it 3 players quite a lot using the house rule, and we've all loved it.
That's fair.
So
yeah, I mean, it worked out well.
Okay, so that wasn't a good example. Let me try another.
You don't have to think of it off the top of your head. We can come back to that.
Because the last few I thought of didn't. I also house rolled.
Yeah.
So let's talk about. Okay, obviously you said why your house rule. I'm not a huge fan of house ruling, and the reason is probably not because I don't like house rules. It's mostly because I review games, and so like playing the game naturally allows me to be as subjective against the game as possible. Because if we play a game with a house rule, and it's like, that was really fun. Oh, because the house rule fixed it. Wait a minute. So I can't really hit the game with it. So I'm not opposed to all house rules.
Sure.
But in general practice, I don't like playing with them specifically because if it's a game I plan on reviewing, especially.
And I understand that. If it's the first time I've played a game, playing it without a house rule is just makes sense. You want to see what the game is really like.
Exactly.
Right. And that's what I was going to add as well is I the first time playing it, I want to kind of play the game as intended.
Yeah.
And then go from there. It's like, all right, adding this house rule, I do believe will add to the enjoyment of the game. So whenever it adds the enjoyment of the game, I believe it's it's not a bad thing to do.
I feel like there's one house rule that's always an auto include. If there is enough player power cards, always give somebody 2 and let them pick.
Sure.
Well, first off, if you just said deal out a power card to each person, you suck. That you did not design that well.
Right.
That is silly and it's absurd. Like you would have to make sure that every special ability is like it's StarCraft. Like it is so balanced that 400 million people have played it for 20 something years and won't let it go. You know what I mean? Like anyway, that was a StarCraft joke. But so other than that, like usually house rules. Yeah, I do agree with you. Like you don't touch house rules on the first playthrough because you don't know anyway. I mean, it's kind of like you might do yourself a disservice.
Right. That's yes.
But
maybe the first few playthroughs, but once it becomes apparent that there's something amiss, then absolutely. And I think Board Game Geek is a huge resource for this because you have so many people playing the game, and if you notice 5 people have said, well, this is an issue, then maybe just go ahead and fix it.
And plus some of those house rules like you're talking about with Carcassonne, I mean, if a lot of people like it so much and it just makes sense, they'll add it to the printing too. So anyway, what's some of your favorite house rules? Actually, before we do that, Matt, what do you think of house rules? Because I think George said, what do you think about house rules?
I mean, I'm good with them. And even sometimes if it wouldn't make sense to other people, but maybe it works with the play group. Even if it sometimes maybe you got to nerf something Eric does. I don't know. Maybe there's just something.
Strategy.
Yeah, maybe there's just something broken within the play group, and you feel
within
like
Eric, something is broken
it to a point. That might be a little extreme and a little. Maybe that person wouldn't care for that, but I'm fine with it as long as I guess everybody agrees with it and they're okay with it.
I have butchered this episode's layovers or splash screens. I had to change it just now.
Is it because your little box is over it?
Yeah, I probably should make this smaller. Well, it's because since we have 4 people, I'm not right next to the monitor now.
It's my fault.
It's not your fault, but anyway. So I have the splash screens in OBS. It's an open broadcast system program that most people use for streaming. But we're recording this, and then I'm putting the overlays between each topic, and I've forgotten to do it in the last 2 things. So awesome. Either way, though, in post editing, I'll fix it, and you'll never notice that I did this, except you'll just hear us talk about it and be like, "What?" So anyway.
So some of my favorite house rules. I didn't really come up with a list of my favorites because I house rule just about everything.
That's fair.
So, well, what I did do is I came up with a list of reasons why I would house rule, and then maybe just a couple examples from each of these. The main reason, as Eric said before, I think is just for fun. Just because that's how you like to play the game. It just makes it more fun for you, And if everyone agrees, like Matt said, then absolutely. So one other thing, fixing a problem with the game. If the game has an issue that bothers you, for example, in Everdell, there's the meadow cards. They don't churn very fast, and there's this huge deck of them. So if you have a certain strategy, you might be looking for certain cards. If they don't come up in the game, that's just not as satisfying.
Kills that strategy.
Yeah. So I house rule to have more churn. Certain cards are going to be going away. Certain cards are going to be coming in as the game goes along. And then there's also
coming back to that real quick.
Variants for that.
With Everdell, have you noticed or looked up like the percentage of people who like that and dislike that? Like, is that a huge thing that people are like, whoa?
I think it's a fairly yes, it's something that a lot of people have mentioned, but I don't know the percentages. It's just, again, I think it'd just be who I played with. If those people felt that it was
I see what you're saying.
The percentage of people I play with, if that's something that they agree with, then absolutely we're going to do it.
That's fair.
But if somebody comes in and says, I can't play with this house rule, I'm not going to insist.
Okay.
Right. I guess it's just, maybe I'll play a different game.
that's fair.
Or just depends on the night, I guess, and who it is. So fixing the problem would be one thing. Okay, another thing would be something that almost everyone can agree on, like you were saying, to decrease downtime. If it's just something that decreases downtime, like Carcassonne, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Throw that in there. Something along those lines that I think a lot of people agree with, maybe not everyone, is something to have an offset for turn order. Person who goes first, and then the person who goes second gets a little something, and the person who goes third gets a little something more.
Right.
And something, if it's a game that is a racing game, like, for example, Dale of Merchants, which is an excellent deck builder kind of race game, I threw in a rule where you get coins that you can spend at the market.
Because in the game how it is, it doesn't offset that imbalance of whoever goes first.
Right. And so, the first player gets nothing, the second player gets 1 coin, and they can spend it during the game at any time to just add 1 to their market total. And the next player gets 2, and the next player gets 3. And that's it. That's, it's just a simple something.
Right.
It doesn't have that otherwise?
It does not.
That's fair. I do like stuff to offset the ability to go first or not. If it makes sense, obviously.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of a typical one. Another reason I would use the house rule is to just increase the prominence of the fun parts of a game. Like if a game has certain bits that are just way more fun than others, then
let's
maybe
do that more.
Let's do more. Yeah.
I guess a clear example of that would be something like Cashing Guns, even though we haven't played with the expansions. But all the guns are special ability cards that you get at the beginning of the game. So, all right, let's stack this deck to where we're playing with all 8 of the special guns.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Another example would be Heroes Wanted, which is a game where you
we
put some
played that
cards together to become
This game sucks.
the heroes. It does not. It's a very good game.
But
Our scenario was bad.
yeah.
We did the opening scenario. Well, we kind of looked through the other scenarios and figured it might be more fun. with the
that's
other
fair,
ones.
that's
we,
fair.
We played the opening scenario.
Okay.
Tangent, did you like the silly thing about like the little quirks or whatever?
Half of them.
Agreed. Okay, there you go. Like some of them are really funny, but it's like, oh, come on.
Some of them are just onerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I take those out. House rule. They're gone.
Oh, yeah. See, that would fix it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They're so funny that you kind of want to include them, but I would.
Or some are just stupid.
They're dumb anyway.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
I think they put them in there specifically to get people at conventions to do stuff, so that people are like, what are they doing? And walk over.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I think part of the fun of the game, or a big part of the fun of the game, is actually putting your character together and putting the villain together and seeing what comes of that.
fun.
But
Yeah.
it only happens right at the beginning of the game. So if I house rule it so that halfway through the game you can have like a costume change, or get bit by a radioactive spider or whatever, some reason, if you can come up with a story for a reason as to why you can suddenly change out your hero card and have a new draft, that's just more fun.
Yeah.
that's fair.
And with the villain as well, of course.
I think it'd be cooler if he had a guitar.
Right. So yeah, that would be one. Another one would be just to add a fun part to a game if it didn't have it. Simplest example of this would be to add the requirement of story elements to a game. Like, okay, you did these things during the game. Now the game's over. Now you have to put that together and give a little story as to why you did that or how it worked out or something like that. Just added. It's just added straight onto the game, but it doesn't really change it.
No.
That's fair. I guess that's not really a house rule though, because you don't. It's not like it's a clear mechanic that's added that changes anything, right?
No.
That's just a fun little. That'd actually be a fun thing to do in Role Player. At the very end, once your character's designed, have you played Role Player?
I have not.
Well, like
man.
you build your character as
I
you're
want
playing
to.
the game,
Yeah.
basically. But at the very end, you like talk about how your character progressed to get to that.
Yeah, that'd
And
be
what
fun.
journeys he's been into. Yeah.
Well, all right. So we played Role Player, and it's kind of like D&D, where you're building your character or whatever, using the D&D mechanism from the old school of D&D. So it's like paying homage to that as a rule set, though.
Right.
Anyway, when we were done, I got the character and I built a 3rd edition character, and Matt. I made Matt one of our episodes. We actually had a segment where
I remember that.
I was like, "Here's your character sheet. This is based off your Role Player character that you made." So there's like a halfling something.
Kneecapper. Is that his name? He was a pit fighter.
Oh, that's great.
And he went around
Yeah.
the different villages pit
That's
fighting.
that's your ultimate house rule right there. We play a game based off the game that you just played.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic. That's a big addition. And then once you did that, you could then have a situation come up where, okay, we're going to play Role Player again. Let me tell you about my other Role Player character.
Right. Yeah.
No, please don't. So another rule, or a thing, not a rule, but like a reason I would add, would be even to combine 2 games together. Example
That'd
of
be
this.
interesting.
What?
Okay, for example, you have a game like a la carte, which is a cooking game, which is kind of dexterity based, and you shake little salt shakers to put cubes into your food, and it's fantastic.
All right.
That actually sounds fun.
Okay, we have to play it. But that's a fantastic game. But you could very easily add in another dexterity food based game, which is, I can't remember the name of it now, but it's this barbecuing game.
Like Dexterity Sushi Challenge or whatever, the 3000.
Yeah.
3000.
You have these, yeah, exactly, chopstick mega dexterity 3000, or this one that I can't remember the name of, but you have these tongs that you have to get these things off of a grill, right? And
Off that pan? Or that's different?
it's
That's
like
different.
it's an
That's a
outdoor grill,
pancake.
like a barbecue grill, but you have to use these
okay.
tongs to get things off of it, and it's just another extra little element. But you could easily put the 2 together, and now you have this larger
So you're
cooking game.
you're kind of making your own game.
You're just mashing 2 together.
Yeah, combining 2 games and
Right, because
mashing
like
it together.
it'd be like taking something like Yahtzee, but adding a set collection amount of cards that you can spin the dice on. So it's like, you take two games that are very simple and make them into a bigger game.
Right, but it requires a couple house rules to make it integrate.
And then you just retheme it and sell it, and then you can't break it again.
Ta-da!
Matt's like, we found our new thing.
Yeah, I'm thinking Captain Sonar and was it Dr. Panic or whatever?
No.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
yeah, genius.
Yeah.
So it could
That's
be
ridiculous, but
It is.
not necessarily. Not necessarily. You know
They shoot one of your guys, then you have to get up
George's
and
gonna
do
make
surgery on him.
he's making it work right now.
okay. What is the novel where they go in a little submarine inside the body?
Inner space?
No, the
Yes.
Magic School Bus.
Magic School Bus.
I didn't know if it was a movie or not.
Hey, I was right. I wasn't wrong.
Dennis Quaid.
No, well, yes, I know what you're talking about. Inner space, right? Magic School Bus. I was thinking Jules Verne, something. But anyway, it doesn't matter. You could put the two together that way because you're in a sub.
Yeah.
And you're
Going
doing
through the
medical
body.
stuff.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, somebody do that.
You know, this is a fun actual topic would be literally everybody bring like 20 different names of games and they'll like fold them up a piece of paper and we'll all throw them in a basket and shuffle them. And then on your turn, you have to draw two and then
pitch
mash them together.
And do a pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe like everybody will do that and then somebody will start and the other people can think while the other person went. But, you know.
But wait, there's more oil.
I like it. Another reason to have house rules is to keep all the parts of a game that are out there in play, so that an example of this is the game Coldwater Crown, which is a fishing game, and so you have these challenges, these trophies that you can win. And what they did recently is they said, well, here's this new challenge that you can go for. In order to put it into the game, you have to take this part of the game out.
Oh,
But there's no reason. Why not just have it all in the game? And now you have more trophies to go for. It's not really what they say to do, but why not?
We've really hit on in some games, like for instance, was
that dwarven game.
the pyramid game,
Oh,
Valley of the Kings.
Valley of the Kings.
Where you take parts of a game out.
Yeah, it's like play with this set of cards or this set. No,
Just
I
play
won't
with them
even
all.
buy.
Yeah.
I'm not buying the other one now,
Mm.
specifically because of that. I guess I could in the house rule it, but the problem with house rule and that is like you can't. It's like you play with all the blue cards from one set or the other, or red cards, and you can mix and match.
Mm-hmm.
But you couldn't like swap them in and out because I think
They
that
dilute the card.
some of the
drawing
cards
those
could get
cards.
diluted.
Mhm.
Some,
Yeah.
you can run into some issues because it's a deck builder. But I mean, that's just too much work. And I don't.
It is right.
I don't like buying expansions that eliminate parts of the game just to add in new stuff.
I'm with you.
Yeah, that is super annoying. That's probably globally something I don't like about games.
Yeah. And another sort of example of that is having epic versions of games. Like you were saying when we played Shadow Rift, that why don't we just play with all of the character power cards just shuffled into one big deck and then, have it come out
Yeah.
Ascension style? Well, why not? It's the epic version. We just use all the cards.
I mean,
Not all the enemies, but all
that's
the...
exactly what Thunderstone did, and it worked.
Yeah. Why not?
Because the original Thunderstone's like, meh. But Epic Thunderstone, yeah.
Yeah. And then another one would be to just take out parts of the game that aren't fun.
That's fair.
Player elimination. Take that out.
Well, yes. Yeah, absolutely. If there's a way to do that. I do that with a game, Luna Lena. Luna Yena, anyway. Where you have player elimination, but why not have those players, when they get eliminated, become
something
werewolves?
else, right.
Play, on the werewolf team, play as werewolves instead of actually just being dead.
Mm-hmm.
And then another way that comes into play is terrible scoring things, or not terrible, I shouldn't say that. Scoring things that nobody cares about, like telestrations, a party game where you play the game. I don't know anyone who actually scores
Scores
that.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say, you keep
No.
scoring that game?
No.
Yeah.
That's an unfun part that you just take out.
Yeah.
Or concept.
Or it's just an unnecessary. Yeah, Concept has a scoring, but it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. Or Spyfall. I've never really scored.
Nah,
Spyfall.
I think you either win or you lose.
Yeah. So just take it out. Take it out if you don't like it. And that's probably not an exhaustive list of the reasons that I house rule, but
No, I mean,
Pretty
I
good
like
list.
that you brought up a ton of them and you brought up a ton of examples. And oddly enough, I thought I was going to come in here with swords and shields banging like, well, all right, house rules are garbage. But I do actually agree with a lot of what you're saying because we have run into that and tried to do a lot of those things, especially, well, things that have already been said. I mean, not to rehash everything we just talked about, but, essentially there was a lot of things that we wanted to house rule or like, well, we don't like this, let's change it or whatever. But
we don't like this one card.
I was gonna say, I remember early in the day, DC Deck Builder, Green Lantern, because it was gonna win. It was broken.
He was so powerful.
So just you can't beat him.
He's out of here.
He's gone.
Yep.
He's out of here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sometimes this is an extra one that I'm adding right now, just because I thought of it. Sometimes a game is so I don't want to say broken, so pedestrian or unfun that it takes an entire rewrite. And the reason is because the components are fantastic. And I want to love the game.
Save it.
I want to save the game. Papua is close. It's not there. It's not quite there. I mean, I wouldn't say it has issues at that level.
Yeah.
But I do love the components. But there's other games where the components are so good, but the game is just so bad. Not bad. It's
It's bad.
It's not satisfying.
Right.
Just unsatisfying. Pie Town was a game that should be fantastic. And
a lot of people like this, right?
No.
Well, was it not that one?
No,
there was another pie game.
No, it was Pie Town, and it came out and it had decent reviews, and I'm not sure how
or why. Yeah.
or why, and it didn't last because people don't actually like the game, and I think those reviews were possibly motivated,
manufactured somehow.
Yeah. I don't trust them at all. But I rewrote the rules for that game, top to bottom, and now I think it's fairly decent.
Yeah. The interesting thing about what you just said is on the podcast, we do a lot of first impressions, and I will usually get benefits of the doubt because I know that I haven't played the game as much as I probably should. But when it comes time to like do a review, if I do it like on the Dice Tower or whatever, I don't try to like destroy the game, but I'm not going to hold bar because somebody gave it to me for free.
Right.
And like, I feel like there's so many reviewers out there that do that. It's like, this game is great because no, this game sucks. There's nothing about this game that's great. Or like, for instance, like everything you're talking about, like for instance, we were having a discussion on the Dice Tower group about Nemesis, and I'm like, I like Nemesis, but the theme of Traitor is dumb. Like it made no sense. Like you wake up from cryostasis or whatever it is, there's a dead body and the crap has hit the fan and there's aliens on the ship trying to kill you. So what do? Eric, I don't like you. I'm going to kill you now. This is a great opportunity to murder you. Yeah, how about...
Well, that is true, though. It would be a good opportunity.
It would be a good opportunity, but who's really going to... Like, there's a difference between...
A psychopath.
When the dude did an Aliens. Matt, do y'all remember the Aliens movie much?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He had his own motives, right?
Yes.
But at the same time, they were never trapped in a specific... Were they trapped in a spot where they couldn't get out of it?
The whole ship.
And he still betrayed them?
He never really betrayed them. He was just shady about why they were there.
Oh, okay, yeah. See, but that's a little different than what you're trying to do in Nemesis.
He completely lied to them on their mission. He was going to bring aliens back to Earth, whereas they thought they were going to exterminate.
That's right. Okay, so that makes sense because he was there from a military aspect to collect things and bring them back.
Mm-hmm.
Then, unfortunately, the crap hit the fan. But just being like, I don't like player one because maybe they were embezzling money.
My card says I don't like them.
Yeah, my card says, first off, there's zero theme on why.
Okay.
Right.
That would be cool.
So here's the house rule. You have to have a reason, and you have to explain it. You have to come up with a backstory.
Right.
Why you're such a psychopath.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense to me because you're in a confined space. It'd be like if I don't like somebody and I'm like, for instance, in a jail, it's very odd to me that if some people are coming through trying to kill everyone in the jail, that dude in jail cell A and dude in jail cell B are from rival gangs, aren't going to like help each other out, at least to get out of that situation. This happens all the time with like comic books. You know what I mean? And then right at the end, sure, they betray him, like after the immediate threat is dealt with. But
sure,
I don't know.
I don't know. There are instances where people have fragged their sergeant in the field, and you could say the same situation is happening.
Well, I mean that's true, I guess.
So
I guess maybe they just need to explain things.
Human nature. They do. They need
your
to
corporate card. Be the last person alive.
Yeah.
Why?
Because you're a terrible person.
What, first off, why would I have went into cryostasis if I needed to murder everyone else at the table? I could have just pretended to go into cryostasis and kill them all and then landed the ship somewhere else and got off. It seems like a very long way to get to something.
Here, I'll put you guys to sleep first.
Yeah, here, I got it. I got it.
Yeah.
You would sign up as the mechanic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who like operates that machinery. So I don't know.
I can see the objection that you have, but I don't know that it.
Mechanically, it works fine.
It doesn't ruin.
I'm
the
not
game.
saying the game sucks because of it, but like that part just really irritated me. I can't. It's hypocritical for me to say I don't like the game because of that, because I usually don't read the story. So
I was thinking this. But,
yeah. So I just mean thematically, if you want to get to it, I don't necessarily think it's that great of an explanation to me.
Okay.
But it doesn't ruin the game at all. Like I thought,
Yeah.
the only thing that ruined the game to me is I thought the combat was meh.
Right.
Yeah. And I can actually relate to exactly what you're saying, because it's not a house rule but it's like it's changing the game when you have a game where the theme doesn't quite work and you have to rework the theme in order to have the game make sense.
Yeah.
A good example of that is Panic Station, which is sort of it's almost the same as The Thing, where you're in a.
Do you have that game, Matt?
yes.
And
It plays 7 players, right?
I was actually thinking about that.
Okay.
okay, well that would be that'd be a good one.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make a lot of sense that you have this android. I can't remember how it goes now, but like you have 2 characters. One of them can actually shoot people. The other one can't. Just can't. Whatever it is, the theme that they have just is
Doesn't
so
make sense.
thin. It doesn't make sense, But you can rewrite that
Lots
story.
of arbitrary stuff going on.
Yeah, you can make it make sense.
Yeah.
And I've actually done it and like printed it out and put it in the game box so I can remind myself, how is this supposed to make sense?
Nice.
Because I enjoy the game more when it does
Right.
tie together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, cool. Anything else that you want to plug on there for?
I think I'm good for house rules. Just always use them.
Cool.
No, I'm just,
Yeah. When they make sense.
Just not on first playthrough.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Don't just be against house rules just because sometimes they're a big benefit.
Yeah. No, I think that I'm not against them for the typical reasons why people would be against them. I'm not just like, no, purity. It just makes sense. It's more of a selfish reason, I guess, because I have a motive to play the game without them.
Yeah, I guess I would just say don't be rigid about it.
Yeah, no.
Whether you're pro or against, just like you said, it has to be agreement and just, go with what everyone wants to do.
Yeah. Although if one person is adamant about, I would probably do what you do and just play a different game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like this game doesn't make sense if we don't change it up. Let's just
Right.
do
And
something else.
That's when it gets unfortunate, when one person says, I don't play house rules, period. Right? And then you have a number
Does that
of
happen a
games.
lot?
No, but when it does happen, it makes it difficult for someone
Oh.
who likes house rules like I do.
That's fair. That's fair.
And I can have lots of reasons, and I can explain my reasons, but if their stance is, I don't do house rules, then what do you do with that?
We are not playing with free parking.
I actually don't think free parking is a thing that you're supposed to do.
It's not.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's not in the rule book.
Yeah, it's a
Right.
house rule. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah.
Exactly.
Actually, Monopoly in general is house ruled.
So much. Right.
The game's
And that's
supposed
why
to be
it
like
takes-
an hour and a half.
That's why it takes like 5 hours.
Yeah. You're not supposed to feel bad for people. You're not
Right.
supposed to.
Oh, you don't have to pay me all the money.
Yeah, just pay me half now and half later. Yeah, and you're supposed to auction off every property that comes up. If you
Yeah.
can't buy it, somebody's buying it.
Yeah, you're out.
Yeah. So
One more thing about house rules I will say is that it seems like with the advent of Kickstarter now, games are coming out a little less baked
Oh, yes.
than they ever used to, and
Right.
so it seems like house rules are more and more necessary in order to save
Fix
your
issues.
investment.
no, I will
Yes.
agree with that. Kickstarters are skirting the line of you're going to kind of put a bad taste in everyone's mouth.
Yeah,
So
that things are rushed to production. It may not even be a Kickstarter, but it's not that the designer doesn't know what he's doing or that it wasn't play tested enough. It's just that it didn't get through the process fully.
Mhm.
oh yeah, we have a great idea. We have an artist. We have all the art. We have the components designed. Bam! Here we go.
Yeah.
Here's the prototype rulebook. I don't know about that.